Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome back to Share Your Story with Ellie. I'm your host, Ellie B. We are back for part 2 of my conversation with the Codependents, aka my sister Mary Claire and my cousins Madeline and Emma. If you haven't listened to part 1, I really encourage you to go back and listen to really understand the foundation of this foursome. You'll hear how our relationships with one another developed, and honestly, you'll probably mostly laugh along with us as we retell some of the most ridiculous stories from our childhood. Part 2 is picking up right where we left off. We talk in depth about our individual journeys of faith and losing my mom. This was really such a special conversation to me because we'd really never sat down and revisited some of our darkest days. Talking through some of the most painful days of our lives brings up so much, but mostly it reminds me that I'm so thankful we had each other and that we continue to see beauty from ashes. So without further delay, here's part 2 of my conversation with the Codependents. I don't even remember it being in conversation. It's just y'all were there and you weren't leaving.
No.
And I think...
And it was non-negotiable.
Right. And it, like, looking back, it really was such a sacrifice that I don't think we were fully aware of just like everything paused to be there. Because for clarification, it was like the month that my mom was right before she passed, and everything was just so intense.
But also, like, it's pretty amazing looking back how no one had to be back for anything. So, like, Madeline was a school teacher, so summer was out. Like, Mary Claire was in summer break for college. Like, I was in summer break after college, and you were living in Jacksonville, and you know, you had the ability to like work remote a little bit. So it was such a blessing that like we could all be there.
Yeah. And to your point, Madeline, I feel like it was kind of the gift of like, we got to relive those childhood summers that we always had together. Like, we did T-stand hot dogs and like, let's go play tennis in the street. And those schedules were intense. Like, those days were really, really heavy and hard. And to Mary Claire's point, it's stuff that no one can know unless you're in it. Like, we were literally watching my mom disappear, like her personality disappear. We would be on schedules of like, I'm gonna go sit with her, I'll be the one to make the smoothie this morning, or I'm gonna go up there and like just help with medicines or whatever. Like, we were all, and I think because my mom was also so private, there would have never been a question as to whether or not y'all were there. It's like, but that was so raw and so intense. So then we also had to like, we were big into puzzles that summer.
Oh my gosh, so many puzzles. In the midst of like all the fun in the pool and stuff, like 3 people could be in the pool, but like 2 people needed to be in the room with your mom. So it was like, that was the reality of like these fun things that we were doing. They were like just to occupy our minds, to not be focused on. What like, a blessing to be going through such a dark time, but to be able to escape a little bit together. Well, and remember we would have picnics in there. We got Chinese one night and sat on the floor in your mom's room.
One of my favorite nights, and for a while I like couldn't listen to it, but like one of my favorites was like it was a day when my mom was a little bit more lucid, and we played old praise and worship songs that like, I feel like when we were little, we were always the kids who like weren't allowed to listen to regular radio, and we resented that. And we played like all those classic songs that we love, and my mom would even like hum and sing along, and we all sang on the bed, and it was like that moment of like, this is what they've been hoping for and wanting for in the midst of it being that dark.
Yeah, exactly. We were able to find like moments of peace together.
Yeah, I feel like we watched like so much happen and so much change all at one time, but then we also almost acted like kids. Like you said, I remember Mary Claire and Emma putting on the goggles and like playing mermaid games, like doing.
We laid in the pool and played Would You Rather. Would you rather have a penthouse in New York or a mansion in LA for like 3 hours? Nightmare. Emma's worst nightmare. Well, that's why I was the one asking the question. Yeah. Emma doesn't participate. She asks the question.
No.
And we watched like Pink Panther and Two by the Dozen like 900 times that summer.
Yeah. We needed comfort movies that didn't have that much conflict.
Also, we were the ages like what, 22 to 26? Yeah. 23. 24?
Yeah. I think like 23 to Mary Claire would have been. You were 21. It was
our first year of marriage. 23.
Yeah, that's a whole other layer.
Yeah. It was a lot. We were like blissful. I literally remember the day because I went to go call Sam to tell him.
that I had just gotten that call, and I was like obviously hysterical at school. I like sent my kids with my best friend at school, and he called me, and I was like, oh, this is weird. And I answered it, and he was like, I have to tell you something. I was like, well, I have to tell you something. And he was like, you go first. And I was like, Jane's sick, and it was awful, and I was crying. And he goes, well, my mom's best friend just was murdered, and it was all within moments. Like, our families both were going through two of the most tragic seasons, and it all happened within moments of each other. And I just remember, like, I remember talking about, like, at our wedding, like, literally it couldn't be happier. And Sam was like, I'm scared the other shoe's gonna drop, because like life just can't be this good.
Oh, wow.
And then literally within an afternoon, it was just like both sides of the family, just the darkest seasons possible.
Yeah.
But
how do y'all feel like during that season? Because to some degree, I felt like it forced us to like grow up or in different ways, or like have reality. Like, when you look back at it, what do you think is like the thing that changed the most in you walking through that?
I think it's just like, me and Sam have been together now for 13 years. At that point, 7 or 8 years. So like, we've had a lot of history, and we've always been there together for each other, and we've always been best friends first. But I think it just took our relationship to a whole nother level of depth, and how to be there for each other, and how to communicate to the other person. It's always been someone's going to pick up the slack, but in that season, like, no one could pick up the slack because we both were struggling. So it was just like learning how to get through hard things at the same time, instead of one person being there for the person who's going through something. So yeah, I'm like, a team made us more of a team.
Yeah. Mary Claire, what about you?
I don't know. I just think my perspective's changed. I don't really have like a specific thing that I was like, oh, this completely changed me. I just think all in all, everything just kind of shifted. Like, you just witness something no one should really have to witness. And it just changes your perspective.
Yeah. I've never seen a character arc quite like Mary in person, quite like Mary Claire Boline. Like, those are the ones you see in the TV shows. You know what I mean? Like, I'm being serious. Like, and it started before that. Like, I feel like it started when you went off to college, but I would say starting from when your mom was diagnosed to now, like, I've never seen someone truly you get to watch someone become so much of a different, not of a different person, obviously. I'm just saying growth. Yeah. Like, it was the way you channeled any kind of like anger, hatred, love, like any emotion, the way how you you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I would say, similar to what we said at the beginning, like, y'all have more of the extreme intense emotions outward, but sometimes my mom used to always say, like, but you have to sit and wait with Mary Claire, because she's going to tell you what's really on the inside. It's not necessarily what's expressed that loudly the first time. But I would say, Mary Claire, number one, I think you got I mean, we all did, but I think, like you're saying, I affirm the fact that you had a different perspective of like, oh, what actually matters, or like, what does this mean for me? Like, that in a different way, but then also you do like express things with a lot more depth, I would say.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think, Emma?
Gosh. I would say that I process things like a lot later. So it was more of something like, in retrospect, I realized like when people are going through something, I'm not very good at like comforting, I guess. Like, I don't know. I guess I try to beat around the bush, because I'm like, oh, well, they don't want to talk about this, like, or I don't want to overstep. Like, I don't want to bother them. And I think that's something I've learned in it, is like, just send a text, call them. Like, so the worst thing you're doing is being a good friend to comfort somebody. Like, like, do it, even like with your mom, like, or whoever it was. But
even if they don't respond, they know you're thinking about them.
Well, I also think that comes back to what we talked about in your perfectionism. Like, there's a place that's like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm going to be extremely measured and wait until I've come up with the perfect thing, because I struggle with that too. But I think you're one of the first that has like such strong, meaningful words, and I think you
maybe wait on it at first because you're like, is it going to be the perfect right thing? But now I feel like you are one of the most supportive people. Like if I know something is going on in my life, you're one of the first people that I know is going to like share it, talk about it, offer something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say, Emma, even though you feel like, you know, sometimes I don't have the right words, you are very good at just sitting there with someone. Like it's not
being a rock.
Yeah, you're not.
Thanks, guys.
Even if you don't think you're offering the right words, I think you're very supportive of people.
Yeah.
You're also good at just listening, which is hard.
Oh,
I think for the people you really love, like I think Mary Claire.
Sorry if I don't love you. I'm not listening.
No, but we laugh at Mary Claire all the time because we know when her eyes are glazing over and she's not actually listening to something, and she gets you to repeat it like 3 more times. But like, I think you have that thing when something matters. I shouldn't say people, but like when something matters, you pay attention to every detail.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're really good at that.
I feel like my answer like wasn't really good. I'm like,
well, mine was on my marriage. It wasn't even about a person, so at least you answered the correct question.
Well, why don't you give yours then, Madeline? Where do you think you have grown the most?
Okay, fine. If you really want me to talk more, I'll talk more. No, but for real, I wonder if this is the same for y'all. Like my faith became my own.
Yeah.
I had a real crisis afterward. I remember driving in the car. We were living in Macon for like a month, and I was like, I don't even know. And I was talking to God. I was like, I don't even know if I believe in you. I don't. And I don't even know if like this is all real. And I don't know. And I was just like, really for the first time, like, am I going to walk away? And no, I didn't. And he showed himself. And I like really, it became my faith.
Yeah.
Not my Aunt Jane's faith, not my mom's faith, not the faith of my school. It became my faith. And just seeing him glorified in such a dark, painful time and
Not the way
seeing
we
hope when all the hope was lost. It really was like, this is my, like, he's my God.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, I want to be like Jane. I want to be like Jane. And then having the realization, no, I want to be like Jesus, because Jane was like Jesus.
Right.
She lived her whole life to look and be and act and love like Jesus. So like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true. Like it became my own. I mean, like, we all had our own faith, of course, but in that time, like every prayer counted. Like, I think I became like on my hands and knees for Jesus. Like I believed it even until the very last second that there could have been a miracle. Like there was going to be a miracle performed. I was sure of it.
Oh, I was ready for the doors of the car that they were taking her way in to open, and
right.
they were
like I was sure of it, and I was praying every last second. Which before I used to just lean on my mom and Jane for that. It's like I'd be like, oh, they're praying, like, you know. But now it was like my turn to be on my hands and knees alongside my mom and my aunt, and I believed it every last second. And then when it did happen, I was furious. Like I couldn't listen to worship music. I didn't go to church. I was like not praying for probably like 10 months. And the first time Mom and I went to church, Mom probably had gone before that, but went back to church afterwards. Like the pastor did a Corrie ten Boom quote, and your mom's favorite was Corrie ten Boom. And so I just wept. And then I think that was like, gosh, cry.
No. Same.
That was turning point in my faith.
Yeah.
You know?
I think so too. I think that's like that season itself. One of the biggest things for me was like learning the both ands of life, that you can be in your absolute worst and have joy at the same time. Because I think there was a lot like in relationships and friends and even the closeness with y'all of how that was all really, really life-giving while also being like, I'm actually facing my greatest fear. Like this is the fear that I have been actually afraid of since the day I was born, is losing my mom. Like it is my actual greatest fear is coming true. And then I think definitely having faith of my own. That was such a raw season of like how I have to lean into the Lord and how I went searching in my own way and I couldn't draft off of my mom. It was like getting in the word. What does worship look like for me? Desperate prayer, like coming up again with more bad news, like and keep returning to that. And I would say like it's also one of the gifts of our moms modeled that for us when we were younger. And I think one thing people say often is like, experiencing things that I didn't until my 40s, or I didn't learn about God until I was in my 50s, or all these things. And like, would we choose 800 other ways that we would get there? Yes. But like, I would say each one of us made that our own faith through that.
The depth of each of our faith as a result of that event in our life and that loss. And even just seeing like there were 3 people at her service that came to know Jesus that day. Mm-hmm. And there were 400 people. Her landscaper was there. Like, and just everyone in white, and the word glory, God's glory, over and over and over. It just is such a testament. Yeah. And it's just really like, it's so beautiful. It really shows like he will use everything, and he has a purpose, and there is greatness in everything. And as painful and horrific as it was, so many beautiful things that Jane prayed for forever. Right. The faith of all of us came from that, you know?
Yeah, because ultimately, like, as much as she prayed for her healing, like, she and Mom also prayed that through everything, God would be glorified. So it was like, obviously, we wanted the healing, but Jane was like, just as much as she wanted that, it was like, she wanted God to be glorified through it, which...
And boy, was he.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah. Can we go back? Because I think people need to know also just, like, the depths of what you were saying, Emma, of, like, I couldn't go for this long. Because I would say each one of our faith is cemented fully. I mean, we believe that Jesus Christ is Lord, our Savior of salvation. So that's cemented.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of dark days and a lot of questions. But like, let's go back first to like that day itself, because we all handled it.
Sorry. Do we have to? I handled it.
That is the perfect response. Like, I could not have.
That's how I handled it.
Yeah.
We drove to, it was the morning. It was like, right, early morning. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, what, like 7 a.m.?
I literally had a dream the night before of like the actual service itself, and I could not sleep. Like, I knew something was happening. Something was changing. Like, my spirit knew it. Mm-hmm. I did not sleep. And that morning we were all in my parents' bedroom. Mm-hmm. And like prayed and worshiped, and that still, like, that sound, I can hear it in the back of my head. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there was that place that, like you said, Emma, like, we also were like, he can still do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we took communion.
I'm crying watching you crying.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I remember doing a puzzle when the truck came.
The stupid king puzzle. Madeline ate a whole chocolate cake and then threw it out. Entire chocolate. Shout out to Darlene.
In the pool
Darlene
like hours.
Hella good. I ate an entire chocolate chip pound cake in a sitting, probably within 10 minutes. Like, it was, I could have won a food eating contest. Proceeded to vomit it up. And no one could find me.
You just floated in the pool for like hours.
Floated in the pool for hours. Actually went upstairs and like stood over Jane and was like, like literally yelling at her, like, and then went and jumped in the pool and didn't get out for hours. Fully submerged. Only my face was out of the water.
But this is the thing, is like, Madeline was a big she had an angsty phase.
Big Avril Lavigne.
Didn't have a bathtub at their house, so she would come over to our house and sit in the bathtub for hours and listen to her angsty music.
Really one with water.
And I remember like being in the kitchen that day, and we were all standing around like not knowing what to do and sad in our own ways. And all of a sudden there was just a splash, and we turned and Madeline just floated for hours.
I was a shriveled prune by the end of it.
Yeah.
I remember we went to Chick-fil-A that morning.
Yeah.
We went to Chick-fil-A. And
every story starts with Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Sponsor
us. But we Be Still by, is it The Fray who sings that? No. Did I just make that up?
Peace Be Still?
No. Be Still and Know.
Be Still and Know.
No, I think it's
by The Fray.
The Fray has a
rendition. The Fray has one.
Because we first started listening to it when with Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I that song played the whole way to Chick-fil-A and back. I remember that. And so every time I hear that song, I think of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I fully believe, like, we sat in the laundry room. We all sat in the laundry room.
Mm-hmm. They have a really big, great laundry room.
Difficult decisions in there. But I remember even thinking, like, no, I think a miracle's going to happen. Like, oh, sure, a miracle's going to happen. And then when they took her away, I called Ellie Heath and I went for a walk. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like I even remember. All I remember is Julian came by.
Yeah. Yeah.
She bought me a giant thing of Peterbrook basket.
Yeah. All the chocolate covered popcorn. She's the reason for that.
Yeah. And then we just sat.
Yeah.
And I remember Chick-fil-A. And then
Puzzle.
Lots of puzzles.
Country bears. And margaritas.
That was a couple of days later, I guess, the next night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Trisha flew into town.
Yeah. Trisha was there.
What did you do, Ellie?
Yeah. I think it helped that we all fully believed that. So not everybody that was there believed that a miracle was happening.
Yeah.
Not everyone was in the full level of like confidence and assurance that we had. And I think for me personally, like that was everything I was holding on to. And I also felt like crazy to some degree because it was like a lot of people just in community and whatever was just like, that's the diagnosis. Like, this is what you're headed to almost.
Yeah.
And so like that day, similar to y'all, I was in such like disbelief and anger.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing for me is like, I'm like, okay, but I know God says he's a healer. I know God says he's the redeemer. And I felt like this really intense anger of like, no, you said it's supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be like this.
Yeah.
And especially with like, I had just such a, like there was so much of my mom's life I wanted and I thought you were going to redeem that didn't.
Mm-hmm.
This can't be the end. This can't be the end. And so I remember calling Susan Britt and being on like sitting in front of someone's yard on a street corner, just like screaming and crying and like bawling.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember you doing that.
Yeah. And I think my emotions were just surrounded in like disbelief. Like, no, there's no way this is happening. We're still going to get a call that like she's healed.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so I think so much of it was like just shocking going through the emotions.
Yeah.
Or going through the motions.
Yeah. It was a big shock.
But
she's like, well, the definition of well done, good and faithful servant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh, Emma.
Yeah.
Preach it.
Yeah, that one makes me cry. I can't think about it.
Yeah. And then it's just crazy because so much shifts because all of a sudden, because that was also like our everyday was doing like chores around the house, but also like taking care of my mom. Like each one of us did shifts that all of a sudden it was like, so now what do we do? Like, I think I felt very like, there's this weird like relief that you don't have to go because it's sad every single time you have to do something. And there was like a little bit of her that was like disappearing or not recognizing or remembering that was just like, how much longer can we do this? And this is so sad that it's this weird, like, I'm relieved we don't have to force her to take this medicine anymore. We don't have to, but also like, now what? Now what am I supposed to do at this time?
Yeah. Did not want to go home because then it was just like solidified.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the crazy part is then all of a sudden it was like people were making arrangements for like, I have to go home. I have to go be by my family. I have to go. And all of a sudden I was like, wait, what? Like all of this ends and now we're going to be just us.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I just remember that being really intense. But we did the next night.
Madeline made her famous Mads margaritas, which I think is 90% margaritas. Sorry. 90% tequila.
Yes, it is. But I hide it with the triple sec, which is another liqueur.
Yeah. So like Kelsey had been there a lot of days, like after work. She came that day. Bryce came and brought food, but we were like, what is something? We just need something that's gonna keep our mind occupied. So,
you know what? There are two things that will always answer that question: margaritas, TM, and country bears.
It's just like an integral part of our family.
Truly. What does kicking into gear mean to you? If you know the answer to that question, you're in the right place.
And it was this crazy thing because we did laugh so hard because we are the people who are like, we fully love this movie. Everything about it is cute and amazing. And I remember
great storyline.
Like Trisha and Kelsey and Bryce were like,
are we watching the same movie?
Yeah, like these are animatronic bears you're watching, right?
And the band back together.
And we quoted that so intensely. And then like I remember Mary Claire and I went to the bathroom. Mary Claire was like, I gotta get out of here. And she was like, she's supposed to be here. She's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
I just remember that like so intensely. But we had like so much fun.
Yeah.
That night.
We did. And we needed it. We just needed to laugh.
Yeah. And that's kind of.
And she would want us to laugh and watch Country Bears.
Yeah. Yeah. But that summer was really where our new nickname was cemented.
Yeah, we couldn't like go to the bathroom without one another.
No.
Yeah, it was like everything we did was
solid.
The codependents.
Dependent on one another.
And we've been codependent ever since.
No, and I literally remember like two of us would be in the pool and two of us would be upstairs and be like, well, we don't want to get in until we know like y'all are changing to your bathing suits. Yeah. Like, what are you? Should we go get ice cream? I looked up the flavor of the day, but I'm only going if all four of us are going.
Yeah, it's an all or nothing relationship, both show.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've had a few times recently, like 2 different occasions where 3 of us are together and it just is not the same. And it sucks for the 4th.
It does. It does. It really does. But I would say we've definitely carried that closeness because like nothing bonds you like going through something like that.
Well, I mean, look at Emma and I today. We live together.
I know. And now we're in such a different season.
Different state together.
I know. Roomies. Okay. Does it feel different? Like,
no, it's so weird. No. It really doesn't.
It feels like I've lived with Emma my whole life.
Really?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now she's used to sharing the bed with me. In high school, when I'd go stay in Jacksonville, she'd be like, the guest bedroom's available.
She did.
Yeah.
And she had like a king.
Yeah.
A queen. I had a very nice queen.
It was a big one. It was a mega queen.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, Ellie didn't get a choice but to snuggle with me. Even when we had the twin bed.
That's true.
The day bed. We still slept together.
In that teeny tiny,
it
not
broke
even
the 200-year-old bed.
Lest we forget.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so almost kind of wrap it up. Let's talk about the seasons we're in now. Madeline is about.
Why do I have to keep going first? Can you repeat the question one more time?
How do you see our relationship playing out in the fact that we're in different seasons now?
I think this season is probably the most work it's ever taken for us to all remain in contact and close, especially since Mary Claire has an office job now. Like, we used to just chat all the time in the middle of the afternoon because I'm at home all day because I'm an artist and a mother, so like I don't have a schedule. So anytime I want to call the other 2 losers that are at an office, I can't call them, except Emma now I can. But Mary Claire was like my go-to. But it definitely like I feel like my season right now just is like one of those seasons where you're like, I'm just hit after hit after hit. You know, like you're down and you keep getting hit while you're down. It's just a difficult time. And I feel like all of us just have a lot going on. So it's harder to reach out because you yourself are going through so much.
Right.
But I just feel like this probably takes the most effort it's ever taken. None of us are rolling in it. Yeah. If anything, we are stagnant. There is no money coming down. So we don't have money to just like fly across and see each other all the time.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah. Can't plan big trips. But it just takes like a, hey, how was your week? You know?
Yeah.
A voice memo, a phone call as much as we can.
Yeah.
But also our relationship is so cemented and deep that it's like, okay, if 2 weeks, like I feel like me and Ellie have the hardest time coordinating our schedules to chat. We also will chat for 2 hours when we can.
Yes.
But we have the kind of relationship, if we don't chat for 3 weeks, well, it's like no time has passed. We'll just have extra to catch up on. We'll talk for 4 hours that day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think we're getting better at text and like random voice memos.
Yes.
Of stuff that's going on.
And Snapchat is huge.
Oh, we say on that almost every day.
We know what's going on every day.
Yeah, just the every day. Yeah.
What about you? What did y'all say?
No, she's the host. She's asking questions.
Not only I'm coming for you.
Well, like Madeline said, it's harder for us to get to be together. Like, I mean, obviously I'm with Emma like every day, which is great. But when we used to be in Georgia and Florida, it was easy if we just wanted to do a quick weekend trip because we could drive, or we could like a flight to Atlanta really wasn't a lot. But now it's a larger ordeal of like, okay, we have to take off work or we have to get a flight. What flight can we get? There's a time difference.
3 different locations.
We're just in different spots, but I think it's helpful that Emma and I are together because we're close, and then it's like, oh, I talked to Emma the other day, and I think we keep each other in the loop with all the stuff that we all know about each other.
Yeah. You ask about the others when you're talking to one to see which ones have you talked to.
Yeah. And I think we just do a good job about like whether it's Instagram, Snapchat, texting, phone call, like staying in touch with each other.
Yeah, I would say we stay connected even if it's not like a guaranteed like trip or phone call. Like we are always connected at some point.
Yeah. I'm going to talk to each of y'all throughout every week, if not every day.
Do y'all, like, for people who are in those kind of seasons that are like, we're all in different places, we don't know how to get coordinated, like what would y'all's advice be to people? Because like Emma, you're really good at that with having literal like 30 people that you are closest with from college.
Emma, I'll never forget when she went to the Dominican Republic and we said, who are you going with? And she's like, just a group of friends. We're like, how many are going? She's like, no, like 100 people. It's like, I don't think I can name 100 friends.
Yeah, it's definitely been harder ever since I moved from Atlanta, but because I'm like physically more spread out, but I feel like, I don't know, those friendships that were like maybe not as close. Like I had my friendships that I was really close with in college and then after college, and then the ones that like really blossomed in Atlanta. Like I told Lucas this like right before I left. I feel like the last like 6 months to a year before I left, like my like really deep friendships in Atlanta, like each friendship one-on-one really blossomed. Like it was like, yes, we still did all of our group settings and we were all in the same group, but I did a lot more like individually one-on-one with my friends.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I was like nourishing those individual friendships. Nurturing.
Yeah.
Those individual friendships. And so when I left, I felt like I left with like really like, you know what I mean? Like really secure each of those individual friendships. So I feel like I text, talk, FaceTime, Instagram, I don't know. And I also have been in like wedding season, so I don't go that many weeks without seeing my friends. And so it's just it's a close bond, I feel like, with each
it's different
like, group.
Send the, hey, how was your week text? You may text 4 times back and forth. Y'all may be so busy. It's going to take 2 days to hear back from the person. Yeah. But like if you're in that season that we are all in now, because even with my friends, we're in the same season. You're just so busy. But it's like, just send the text. Yeah. Even if it's 2 a.m. and that's when you think about it, send it. Because it's just like keeping the line of communication open. Yeah. It will eventually come back together.
And offering grace, because there are so many times where I realize like I have 3 texts that I haven't answered from one of y'all. And I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. I feel so terrible. And it's instead of being like, oh, I think they're judging me and holding against me and like they're mad. It's just like coming at it with like, the beauty of it is we can go all in that quickly. Yeah. So it doesn't feel like we have to get through the niceties and everybody has grace for like the other's busy.
Yeah. Even my Bible study, I used to go every other Wednesday in Atlanta. It was great. Have coffee, meet up. And I don't, you know, it was early. I'd wake up like 6:30, but we'd meet for coffee and have like fellowship and then start your day so well on like a Wednesday. And then I moved, and you can still do it online, but it's harder to get up at 5:55 to be virtual and like have a coffee by myself and not get to, you know. So I was like finally texted, you know, one of my dearest friends City, and I was like, I'm just like being honest, like I have no excuse that I missed. I just have not had the discipline to like get up. And she immediately was like, give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I think also knowing, like you said, almost having foundations with the friends that you have or the people that you're close to. Like the other beauty of it is because we each know each other so well. Like I love your advice of like knowing each person individually, not just the group, but I know like who to go to for what thing, if that makes sense. Like like Madeline and I have done budget calls together, but we also get in like,
I am the group accountant.
Yeah. But then we also get in deep on the like, I'm really struggling with the Lord, why hasn't he answered this prayer type of thing. But like, I'll go to Emma with like, I need a word of encouragement because you're so good with like affirmation and words and like, even like fashion advice, whatever. And Mary Claire and I are like praying every morning together and just on like more like one-to-one family stuff. Like that feels like sister. And like connecting on each individual one of those, I feel like is such a good.
And I felt like for a long time my faith life was like my family and like maybe my hometown friends. And like when I got to college, that's not like what initially binded me and all my college friends.
Yeah.
And then like later, obviously like we shared the same values and stuff, but it wasn't until like probably in the last like living in Atlanta that I was joining a Bible study, and I like loved it, but I didn't feel like I was like getting out like what I really needed to. I feel like I was doing it to like go through the motions of like attending a Bible study. And me and my friend Sydney were talking, and we were like, we've been blessed with such great friends and who are all in the same city. Like, why are we not why are we not focusing on just like building those relationships based off of faith? Like we have these great girls. Like, why don't we focus on like making this friendship around faith? And that's how our group started. It's called Word on Wednesdays.
I mean, you're so blessed with such great girls.
And so now it's like these girls that have been through so much with me prior to that now like are also the people that I turn to like with you guys and my home friend. Like now I feel like in every aspect of my friends, from home, from family, from college, whatever, after college, it's like also the common bond is now faith, which I feel like at first that wasn't it. And now it is. Now every one of my friends, it is.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. Especially as you like get older and mature and you're like, what is the thing that actually defines me? Or like, what do I need the most encouragement in? Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Is there anything else that we've missed that y'all want to talk about before we ask the final question?
It's the final question. Are you sure it wasn't the sweater?
You sure it wasn't that sweater?
No, just love you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so final question for all of you. It doesn't matter who wants to start.
I will just continue being
You're our leader, our first one.
Firstborn. I will forge forward.
What is the one word you would choose to describe the current chapter of your story?
Can I go second?
Sure. I'd say right now, maybe I'm hesitant to say waiting because while I am waiting for a lot of stuff, I have been very blessed this past year. I feel like I've done a lot of things that I've always wanted to do, and I got the opportunity to do them. So I kind of went with it. So
kind of a season of answered prayers.
I'm in a mix of like adventure and waiting. Like I feel like I've done a lot that I really wanted to do, and I got the opportunity to do it, and I didn't say no. Been very yes girl ever since moving. But I'm still just praying and waiting for a lot of things.
Yeah, I think both can be true. Yeah, I love that.
I mean, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I would say the word is probably difficult. You know, it's just one of those seasons where you're knocked down and you just keep getting knocked down, and it's just one of those times. But like it will get better. And I have such wonderful things. I have this beautiful, wonderful doting husband, Sam Kennon, and a beautiful little girl and a baby on the way. So like there are such great, wonderful things. So it feels weird saying difficult, but like there's just a lot of things in life that are just hard. So and around those things that are just tricky. But you know, it's learning the balance of like being really thankful and also relying on the Lord to like provide and, you know, give you the strength and perseverance and grace to keep going, and just to hope like it's not going to stay like this forever, but also don't let the hard stuff take away from the good stuff, because I do have such good stuff.
The
kid's like really cute.
Oh, she's the cutest. The cutest. Emma?
I think I would say hope. I'm trying to actually answer this one word, you guys. No shade to the M's. No, I'm kidding. I would say hope because I constantly feel like I'm almost overwhelmed by the blessings I have in my life. But then, you know, it's very easy to get focused on like the little things you don't. So I'm like, and it's also like in like random little seasons of waiting or something, like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm in little situations. I'm like, oh, I'm okay. Everything is okay. Like I just need to have hope.
What's your word right now, Emma?
I think my word is hope. Because I have a lot of great things. I feel like I'm constantly overwhelmed by my blessings, like almost to the point where like it brings you to tears because you're like, why do I have so many blessings when there's so much bad going on in the world? So it's like I get sad for that. So it's like I have to have hope.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So it's like I get down and I'm like, well, I have so much to be thankful for. So it's like having hope for others, having hope for this world. I love following like the accounts like goodness movement stuff on Instagram because I'm like, there is hope. People have hope, but I like to know that like everything's not bad in this world. Like there are people who have hope. There is hope. And so like it's just uplifting to see that. It's like I'm trying to focus on having hope, even in like little situations, that I've been praying for in the waiting periods. So like I don't know. It's just, I think hope right now is what I'm trying to focus on in all aspects of my personal life, in everywhere, in every season, in my relationships, in my locations, in my job. And then I have an outside of me, just like the world. It's just a hard place to be in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Fortunate. So it's like you have to focus on, I don't know.
It's a beautiful
I love when you share those like good news movements on your story and stuff. They always bring me to tears, and it does get you to that place of like, the world is hard, but humanity is not all bad all the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's a wrap on the Codependents. At least for now. Maybe we'll get them back on the mics again soon. Thank you so much for tuning in and for sitting with us as we talk through navigating that season. We had so many horrific days intertwined with some of the fondest memories of togetherness. It's amazing to look back over those early years, going to school together, making up dances, and even fighting, and to recognize that even those moments prepared us for these days in ways we really could have never known. I'm really so grateful, especially for each of them. Please make sure to follow each of the girls on Instagram. Their links are in the show notes, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and rate this show wherever you tune in. It really helps the podcast get in front of new listeners. Thank you so much for listening in with me week after week. I am so excited to be back with you on Thursday for a conversation with my dear friend, Katie.